What do you exactly do in a typical month?
All functions eventually cut through the finance.
How do they bring their skills?
I deal with multiple stakeholders in different time zones.
Now that you work both in M&A and a commercial FP&A,
Planning process involves bringing all the pieces of the puzzle together.
how do they approach their roles?
And what is the premise of the deal? You get a global mindset.
Are there any short courses? Hey, hi Akshay, nice to see you. I've been following you for a while and finally good to see you in person, man.
Thanks, Asif. Yeah, glad to be here and good to talk to you about questions and career and journeys.
So I know you've been working in the US in planning and finance roles for a while. So why don't you introduce yourself to our audience in terms of what has been your journey so far in different roles that you've been? How did you start and how did you get to the role that you are in right now?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Akshay Phadke, and I am from Pune in India. That's where I did my CA, which is typically a 5-year course. I interned with a local, pretty decent size CA firm initially, and then moved to Grant Thornton, which is an MNC, where I was part of audit and assurance practice. So I worked there, and then I also, after completing my CA, I joined there as a senior. I wanted to get some experience in audit. That said, I knew that audit is not something that I wanted to make as a career. So I quit my job at Grant Thornton and took a couple months to explore the market and figure out what I want to do. I was then, and the opportunity that came knocking at my door was that from a company called Eaton. Eaton is a global manufacturing and technology company, and they had this program called Finance Leadership Development Program, FLDP, which was being launched in India for the first time. So they were selectively hiring for around 5 positions across India. And I really thought that was a good opportunity because the way that program was designed is you get to rotate between different businesses every year. So you get a flavor of how different businesses within a company operate, or different business units. And then you're pretty much on a fast track a career path. So I joined Eaton, and I was with Eaton for close to 4 years. I worked in their electrical business in Delhi, and then in their aerospace business in Pune. And this was a curated role. It was wearing multiple hats. It involved finance transformation, finance operation, FP&A, and it really gave me the opportunity to work with different business units and also cross-functional teams. So that was a really good experience. And then I decided to come to the US to do my MBA. So I came to Boston and I did my MBA at Boston University, during which I wanted to explore the investment banking side of finance. And so I interned actually in New York for my internship was in continuous improvement finance. So I had some continuous improvement experience, process improvement experience. So I was able to apply that, and I did my internship in summer, and then in fall I interned with a boutique investment bank. Because everyone talks about investment banking, we hear about what investment bankers do. We have a perception, but actually working in that space, being surrounded by smart people, is something that I wanted to do. So I interned during my fall. After I finished my MBA, I was fortunate to join PwC in its deals advisory practice. So basically, my time at PwC, which was close to 3 years, was split between due diligence and post-merger integration. After 3 years, I wanted to explore the industry side. I wanted to move out of consulting. Consulting is not for everybody. It has its pros and cons. And I realized that I would like to have less travel and want to explore the industry. So I joined Amazon. Amazon had a really good opportunity in its international expansions team, which, as the name suggests, is a team that helps Amazon get into new countries. And so this was a finance role, but it was a project finance role. So it was not a typical finance operations role. It was basically working with business partners, help launch Amazon into new countries. So it involved FP&A, it involved analysis, it involved automation. And so all those things were those that I enjoyed, and I was able to bring transferable skills from my finance transformation experience at PwC and at Eaton. So I spent close to 3 years in the retail space in international expansion at Amazon. And then a year ago, I joined AWS, which is Amazon Cloud. So I joined AWS in a role that is not technically finance, it's more a strategic planning role. So my team currently helps Amazon set up new data centers in locations given to meet the growing demand for cloud. So I've kind of moved out of finance into a planning role, but the foundation that finance gives is very, very helpful, and it gives empowers you with a lot of transferable skills that can make your move to other roles or non-finance roles as well, like strategic planning, uh, quite quite relatively easier.
Okay. So you mentioned about the planning role. So how does your typical day in that role look like? Or maybe not a day, if you can talk about what do you exactly do in a typical month or a week in that role. I think that will give the listeners and viewers a more sense of how it is different from a traditional finance role.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So basically, my role currently is into strategic planning, and the key pillars that constitute my role right now. One is stakeholder management, because big corporations and especially teams like AWS, where data center teams are huge teams. There are different aspects of the whole process, like business development, finance, the actual infra management. And so the planning process involves bringing all the pieces of the puzzle together. So stakeholder
Mhm.
management is a big part. Analysis is a big part, because we are dealing with a lot of data, and ultimately the goal is to be able to analyze data and come up with a point of view, help the leadership make smarter, more informed decisions. So data analysis is another key aspect. And then the
Mhm.
third aspect is actually weaving everything together in a story. So being able to provide visibility, being able to
Mhm.
make sure that demand supply gaps are reduced, and basically you're solving the classic problem of making sure that demand meets supply and supply meets demand. So that is kind of my role. I deal with multiple stakeholders in different time zones. So that is one of the uniqueness of working in a global company that has presence in different parts of not only US but the world. And and a key aspect is that because cloud is a very unique space, you need to kind of learn, and you need to be agile, be able to grasp new concepts so that you can actually speak the language that non-finance counterparts or stakeholders can understand and relate to, and that's how you're able to connect and communicate effectively.
Understand. So it sounds like a planning strategy and a finance business partnering combination of all of these aspects.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
what happens in the traditional FP&A role is you do all of these things maybe at a senior level, but you're more focused on the day-to-day forecasting or management reporting or preparing budgets when it's due once a year. So that all goes into a typical FP&A role, especially at the manager, senior manager, AVP, director level. And then once you get at the VP, CFO level, you do all of these, more of these things as you grow senior. So it sounds like like some parts of FP&A, but with
Yes,
more strategy and more business partnering in terms of the time and I mean, you focus more on all those aspects there. So
absolutely.
I mean, I get a sense of the role. Now, if you can help, say somebody who's starting new in finance, say they've recently qualified as an accountant, whether it is a CPA, CA, CMA, and they're looking into getting into commercial roles like FP&A planning or finance business partnering. How should they approach that? Because when they are new, they may not have the experience, and how do they bring their skills from audit and accounting roles into these roles that we just talked about?
Sure, sure. So I think the way I would so my guidance would be that for an FP&A role, there are two elements of it. So one is the uh, the hard skills, right? Because ultimately FP&A is about being able to have, which one can call it housekeeping, or being able to produce reports that have high fidelity. So that is the piece where having reasonably good Excel skills, being able
Mhm.
to have reasonably good financial modeling skills, where you create models that are agile, create models that are robust. Those are definitely basics FP&A 101 skills to have, because it starts from there. It starts from creating data that is reliable and auditable, and is correct. It's factually correct. So that is one piece of it. The other comes is soft skills, which is, one is understanding the business. So I think the biggest advice that I can give is that invest in digital tools, invest in Excel, invest in learning something like SQL or Power BI, because today those are almost necessary hard skills. They are not optional, and successful FP&A professionals have those skills, and there are umpteen courses that are available to learn. There is material that is being developed, and so finding a good course and learning these skill sets is important. On the soft skill side, I would say what is really important is to understand the business. Take the time out to understand what is the story behind the numbers, what is the business doing, and taking that effort to talk to people outside of finance. Something that really helped me when I was in Eton is at least 10% of my time I would be not at my desk. I'd be talking to a customer, or talking to a stakeholder, talking to someone who is from a different team, be it supply chain, or be it business development, to understand what is their piece of the puzzle. And I think the benefit, or the big advantage of being in finance, is that all functions eventually cut through the finance function in some aspect or the other, be it marketing, be it sales, be it supply chain. But taking the time out to kind of understand the meaning behind the numbers is very helpful. That differentiates a average finance professional or average FP&A professional from someone who can not only produce good numbers, but also provide a point of view, provide a story behind it, and provide a recommendation that leadership can actually look at and make decisions of. So that would be my advice, to basically sum up: learn the business, try to understand the business, take extra time to understand the business, and then on the hard skill side, polish your hard skills, be good at Excel, be good at data analytics. That'll take FP&A professional a long way.
Got it. So if I can summarize on the hard skills, it's Excel, Power BI, SQL, a combination of those, and on the soft side, understanding the business and spending more time with other functions in the company and the other departments in the company is what I take away. Now, a couple of unique things, or a couple of different things are what I found in your role, and we'll talk about it one by one. One is your move to the US. So you moved from India to US. So how are finance teams in India different or are they different? If they are different, how they are different? If they are not, if you can help us understand how they are similar, that is first. And second is also you moved in and out of FP&A and planning roles. So how has been that experience from moving from a investment banking role into FP&A? And earlier you were working you mentioned at Eton you were in a leadership development program. So moving from there into the investment banking role. So if you can talk about those two aspects.
Sure. So maybe I'll start with how is it moving between these roles. So I do believe that it is, if a lot of these roles, they have transferable skills that can be transferred from one role to the other, right? But they are transferable, but how you transfer it is something that depends on the individual. So if anyone wants to switch from, say, audit into FP&A, or from FP&A into M&A, acknowledging that there are transferable skills, and all you need to do is assess them, harness them, and bring them to the table. I think that is very important. Today, the silos are kind of breaking, and so it is not that if you're in a particular function, if you're in, say, in accounting, you're going to get necessarily pigeonholed there. It takes some effort to kind of break the barrier and jump to the other side, or you need to really make some extra effort, but it is definitely possible. In terms of my journey from India to the US, so after getting a solid 5 years of experience in India, I did want to explore the US market, which has a lot of opportunities as well. And so and there are two paths. If you want to, especially to US, there are two broad paths. One is you join a company like Amazon, and I'm saying Amazon because I work for Amazon, and I know you join their India team, and if you're doing well, they will offer you opportunities to move abroad. That is one way to do it. The other way is to do some kind of a master's program. So I did my MBA, and I did a full-time MBA, which is an investment. It is an investment in terms of time and money. At the same time, it has some really good benefits that you get. You basically you get a global mindset. You get to work with a diverse pool of students from various countries, and working, sharing ideas, bonding with people with diverse backgrounds really strengthens your ability to consider other viewpoints. And this is a critical skill for ultimately becoming a leader. So my MBA helped me broaden my vision to and understanding what are the different um, job opportunities out there within finance, outside finance, and so that is the path that I took. But again, there are people who don't want to invest 2 years in an MBA, and then they would join a company which is an MNC with a presence in their home country, and then tap an opportunity to move abroad when it comes.
And you mentioned so how did you did you find a job after going to the US, or was it that you had an offer in hand and then you moved to the US? Because you mentioned
So
about the visa process, which is slightly tricky once you move there.
that's right. That's right. That's right. So I applied to business schools, and I joined the MBA program without a job offer in hand. So I joined as a student, and then once you're in the MBA program, you have resources like the college provides you some resources. You have LinkedIn as a great resource, and you network your way to find a job. So that is the path that I took. PwC was recruiting on campus, and I was hired through the campus interview process. But a lot of people network themselves and get a job. The thing to keep in mind is that MBA means taking a risk. It means investing money. It means sacrificing or investing 2 years of your career. So it is a reset button, but I do believe it has long-term benefits. So it is up to, so there is no right answer to whether one should do an MBA or not. It is something that each person has to assess of what their risk appetite is, what they are prepared to do, or whether they feel that they can get to the same endpoint without doing an MBA. And a lot of people are fortunate to have roles and jobs and mentors where their job is like a mini MBA, and they can learn hands-on. And if you can do that, great. Then you don't need to graduate with a $30,000-$40,000 bill. You can absolutely be liability free and still get this similar experience. So that would be my advice.
Now, again, I come back to the M&A role that you talked about. So now that you work both in M&A and a commercial FP&A type of a role, how is life different in a M&A role versus FP&A or in a planning role? And which one do you like now after doing it for a couple of years or maybe more than 2 years for both roles?
Well, I would say that my nature has been that I have always been like an explorer. I've been wanting to explore different teams or different roles, and because my career path gave me that opportunities, I've been taking that. Now, both are very different. So I interned in a investment bank where it is pretty high pressure. All the deals that you're working on are $1 million deals, and so a lot is expected from even as an intern. The kind of commitment and the quality of the deliverables that we produced, there was a very high bar to that. And at the same time, you got to kind of interact very closely with leaders and startup founders and the CEOs of companies. So that was a good experience. My time in M&A advisory in PwC was basically working on either due diligence, which I was not a big fan of, but I really enjoyed the post-merger integration piece, where once a company is acquired, how do you really integrate the different work streams of the company, and how do you make sure that you're looking at what are the integration tenets, and what is the premise of the deal, and making sure that the integration is smooth, which will actually be very important to justify and to be able to deliver on the synergies that are the basis of a acquisition and the acquisition value. It is fun. You get to learn a lot. Uh, at the same time, it is a consulting role, so you have to travel, and so I think I enjoyed both. I have enjoyed my time at PwC in the M&A space, as well as what I've been working on in Amazon Retail and AWS. Each of these has their own flavor, and again, I would say that it is up to an individual to kind of take a call on whether you want to continue or you want to switch. They have their own uniqueness.
And in terms of so I picked up a couple of points which I'll again summarize. Compared to MBA, sorry, compared to M&A, FP&A, M&A is slightly more high pressured role compared to, is that what I understand?
Yes.
And
Yes.
you mentioned about travel, so you're constantly working on different clients and different projects versus in FP&A or in a commercial, or you're working with one company which is stable, which does have its own challenges, but it's not as high pressured or high intense as M&A.
That's right. That's right. And I would like to add that these big corporations like Amazon, they have their own corporate development and M&A teams as well. So you could find yourself in an M&A role, but working for a corporation, company like Amazon, Microsoft, and the large companies. They do a lot of acquisitions constantly. They have a pretty
Yes.
robust acquisition pipeline. So that is also an option.
So that will be, I think, best of both the worlds. You get to work in M&A also, but you don't work in so high pressured environments like consulting firms. Now we'll move to the last part of our role. Say somebody who's moved into a FP&A commercial finance role. How do they approach their roles in their first few weeks or first few months? Because that is very critical to when it comes to deciding, okay, if this FP&A or if this industry role is for me for a long term. How would you approach if you were given a new role today? How would you approach that in the first one month or few weeks?
No, that's a very relevant and pertinent question, because a lot of I'm sure a lot of people who join in these roles would have that, and especially because there is the pressure to hit the ground running and deliver fast. At the same time, it's a new environment, and so how does anyone navigate? So I would say that there is so Amazon has certain leadership principles, and one of them is learn and be curious. I think I would start with that. Learning and being curious is very important. I have in all my experience realized that if you express the interest to learn, people do take time out. So in the first 30 days, what I would advise is that try and understand the lay of the land. Try and understand what is the org structure, who works where, what are the stakeholders that your role requires interaction with, and reach out, have one-on-ones, have coffee chats, and express the interest to understand what is it that they're working on. A lot of reports are available, which many teams are, unless confidential, willing to share. So get hold of reports, read a lot. I would say the first 30 days must involve talking to people and reading a lot, which will help us ask the right questions. Then I would say once you hit the 30-day mark, again, this is more of a directional milestone. That is when you would actually start delivering on stuff. You would have your role, and you would be expected to get more independent and start delivering. I think that is the time where leveraging your manager is very helpful to kind of understand what are the expectations, right? What are success criteria? I think that is very, very important, that going into any role, being clear about this is a role, this is what makes this role a success, and then trying to make sure that you have the right elements and support to be able to set yourself up for success. So that is what I would advise to focus on 30 to maybe 45 days, or 30 to 50 days. And the last piece of the 60 days, I would say that it will be very helpful to get feedback. Like once you've learned, you've started to apply, getting some early feedback that this is what I believe, this is my approach, or this is a deliverable that I produced. What is your feedback? Getting early feedback is very important. It kind of ties back to the fail fast. If you're doing something wrong, might as well know it sooner. If you're doing something right, again, it's better to know it sooner so that you can leverage that, you can improve on that. So communication, I would say, is the key. Without getting inundated or without getting I would say, bogged down by a new role or by the challenges. Having open communication with your stakeholders, with your peers, with your manager is very, very helpful. And if that is done, it really is a boost, and it sets you up for success beyond the 60 days when you are pretty much fully part of the team and the company.
Awesome. So I think that gives a good framework. So first 30 days spend on reading as much as material as you can absorb, as much as you can absorb, which is around, and then start working on your deliverables. And after a while, say after a month or so, which is overall 2 months, ask for feedback and continuously then improve on that. Before we let you go, I know you're on almost on time. This is a question I ask everyone. So, are there any certifications or any courses that you have done that have particularly helped you in your career apart from the long-term MBA type of course? Are there any short courses, certifications that have personally helped you a lot in your career?
Well, I would say I did a SQL boot camp, which was very helpful. I leveraged. I probably uh, found a course on LinkedIn Learning, so I used that. But that was helpful. And then I practiced a lot on my own. And this is a couple years ago, so that really helped. I've done a couple courses on Power BI also, which helped. So I would say these are the two courses that I've done. Apart from that, it has been a learning on the job for me, which has been very helpful. Thanks, Asif. No, thanks
One
for
one thing,
having me.
one thing before we go is how do people reach out to you? Say somebody wants to reach out to you after listening to you or reading about you. What's the best way to reach out to you?
Best way is to reach out to me on my email, which I can share with you. It is my first name AKSHAY, D for Delta, P for Paris, DP at BU, which is Boston University .edu. So I'm more than happy to respond to emails and even connect via some kind of Zoom call if people have questions. I'm always there to help young professionals do better.
All right, awesome. So we'll put that in the description somewhere. And
Sure.
again, thank you so much. And yeah, any last words, comments before we wrap up?
Well, I would say, yeah, I would just say that um, these talk series that you are hosting are really valuable. I wish I had something of this when I was starting my career. So I would encourage anyone watching this to listen to it, to kind of take away and leverage these resources that you're creating to really make informed decisions. And yeah, I wish them all the best.
Thank you so much. And bye bye.